Cryptocurrencies have been promoted as a way to democratize the finance world and include more diversity. But a recent Acorn in CNBC survey found that twice as many men as women are crypto investors. And the current gap is greater than the gap that is between men and women for stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, and real estate. So I really have to tell you, I grappled with this topic because I was just like, if you know anything about me, you know that I believe that you need to have your foundation in order before you start getting into things like crypto. But I also recognize that even if I'm not talking about it, you're thinking about it. And I wanted to bring somebody who was credible to you to learn from before you start jumping in. So before you jump in, I want to make sure that you understand that I believe that you need to make sure that your foundation and the other pieces of your planning are in place before you start investing in crypto. And cryptocurrency should also only be a small part of what you are doing financially. Today's guest has been a crypto investor for a number of years, so I invited her in to share her experiences, her lessons, and her advice with the Her Money Story podcast audience. Now, as I said, if you've been listening for a while, you know that I would never say to start your investing journey with crypto. But I wanted to acknowledge that some of our listeners are ready for it. And I wanted them to get good information before they get started. So I'm Felicia Gopaul. I'm a wealth coach for professional, accomplished, educated women. And I am your personal wealth builder. Welcome to the Her Money Story podcast. Keep listening to hear more about the ins and outs of crypto before deciding if you're going to add it to your investing mix. So who's joining me today? I have Nicky Shah. She says that she has made almost every mistake in the book in her first 10 years of investing. But what that helped her do is learn some really valuable lessons about what it takes to be a successful investor. And she'll be sharing some of those with you. In addition to her, she says that she took that knowledge of what it's like to be a successful investor and poured it into her style and her approach when she started trading cryptocurrencies, and she'll share a little bit more about that. It helped her develop a investing philosophy where she says that you've got to make sure that your money is working hard for you so that you have the time available to do the things that you truly want to enjoy. So we'll have to ask her what she's enjoying with her trading. So welcome, Nicky. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Felicia. And I'll have to let all your listeners know this is actually the first and only ever podcast I've done. So thank you for the invite. I'm equally excited as I am nervous. Let's see how it goes.
So I'm sure it will go well. You know, I've had the opportunity to talk to you and hear a little bit more about how you got started. But why don't you share that with my audience? How did you get started with cryptocurrency? Because everybody is jumping in now, but I know you've been doing it for a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back into my teenage years. I've always wanted to be a millionaire. And I used to say that to my parents when I was young, like by the age of 30, I'm going to be a millionaire. And I was willing to do whatever it took to make money. I mean, when I was 14, I did a paper round. So I started right at the bottom, and I saved as much money as I could. But in terms of how I got into investing, I was just about to set off for university to get my degree and go and get myself a professional job like we're told to do at school. But around the same time, I saw my dad was placing some stock orders at his desk at home. And I got interested by that. And long story short, I mean, I was just watching him making a bit of side money by not really having to do much. Now, obviously, that's an understatement because there was a lot of work going on in the background. But I got interested in investing back then. And Started with stocks, as most people do, and then I went into day trading, leverage trading. And so naturally, when crypto came along, which I was first introduced when I was in Bali, it was just something that was really interesting to me. And that was back in 2017.
Excellent, excellent. So you've been doing it for a while. So what is a newbie, somebody who is just brand new, need to know about crypto before they jump in and start buying and selling?
Well, so I have been investing in stocks and crypto for a while. And one thing I will say is crypto is very, very volatile, and it's
Okay.
not for the faint-hearted. That's not to say that you shouldn't do it, but I think you should do it with your eyes wide open. You hear a lot of people making a lot of money by placing small bets, if you want to call it that, into crypto, and that does happen, but it's not the way I trade. And so I'm sure we'll talk more on it in terms of lessons learned, but I think the one thing is that crypto goes all over the place. So you have to really know what you're getting into.
Got it. So as you said, some people are doing it by making small bets and other people are doing it in the way that you're doing. So talk to me a little bit more about how are you doing it? How is it different from the people who are making small bets, if you will?
I mean, I have an overall investing strategy, and it's actually
Okay.
quite simple. So it starts all the way from saving money. So to have money to invest, you need to save. And I like to invest in a very disciplined way. So it's very consistent. And I have, I'm quite geeky. So I have an Excel spreadsheet that tells me how much every month I should be putting in. And when I make money, how much should I reinvest? But there's a whole plan which starts from saving and then investing and reinvesting. And for me, whether that's stocks or whether that's crypto, it's the same throughout. And for me, what I'm finding is, yes, you know what, you can do the casino style, and you could take, you could sell your house and put it all on one crypto and see what happens. But most people will probably not be able to stomach that. And actually, there's a much more steadier way that can fit into your natural lifestyle and also bring you a decent return.
Excellent. So would you say that there are any, other than what you were just talking about, is taking your house and putting it on one thing with crypto, which of course neither one of us would recommend. What other mistakes do you see people who are just getting started with crypto making?
I'll tell you these three because I've made all of them.
Okay.
One of them is the fundamentals of not knowing how to use a trading account. So you might know everything there is to know about crypto because you've done all your reading, you've got your money saved, you're good to go. But then you try and place an actual trade and you've never used a trading platform before. And you could end up shorting. So if that doesn't even make sense to you, these are terms that you need to know. You could end up placing a trade in the wrong direction. You might be able to place a trade on the wrong thing if you don't know the symbol of what you're trading. So there's what I would call the fundamental trading skills of using a platform. The other one is, and sorry for that, I would definitely recommend that you get a demo account for whatever trading platform you use and just play with that for at least a week minimum. Probably a month is better. The other mistake is not getting your timing right. And what I mean by that is a lot of people start getting interested or reinterested when crypto's taking off and it's in the news, and you hear Bitcoin's gone up by 20% in a day, and people get in this like FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Yes.
And really, like markets, they go up and down all the time. But people think that when it is going up, it's going to go up even more and more. And so they get into this thing called FOMO, and a lot of people end up buying at the top of the market, and then they see it crash 50% potentially within a week. So what I would say is that if you're serious about getting into crypto, like be patient. There's always going to be good times to get in. Don't just do it on the day that you wake up and decide, right, today is the day. Like really think about timing. And the third thing, which is I think the most important, and it's not really talked about that much, is understanding yourself. Because like I mentioned, crypto can be very volatile. And if you're not a person that's comfortable with risk taking, or if you're not comfortable with volatility, then don't trade in a way that's going to make those conditions present in your life day after day. That's not to say that you can't get into it if you've got a different personality to a typical like level-headed trader perhaps, but there's ways around understanding your personality to fit your trading style.
Absolutely. So I love that. So the first thing is that you were suggesting is before you start trading in general, you should probably try it out on a demo account so that you can understand how to trade on that so that you're not making a move that is going counter to what you intended. So I think that that's a really important thing to say. The second thing is you talked about, and I think is really important. I think it's important not just for crypto investing, but it's also important for just investing in general, is to understand yourself so that you understand how you operate. I'm not somebody who wants to watch what my stocks and investments are doing. So something, if I was investing in a fast moving cryptocurrency, that would not be good for me because that's not how I'm oriented. I will set it, I will do something else, and then I will come back and I could have it go really up for me or it could go really down for me because I'm not paying attention to that. And you need to understand that. And then the third thing that you talked about was, remind me what the third thing is that you talked about that you thought was really important.
It's the timing. So not getting caught up in this FOMO and everybody else is investing, so let me just invest as well.
Yes, and that is increasingly important because I think one of the things that I see in any kind of investing is people fear missing out. So, Tesla's up or down, or Apple is up or down, or Microsoft is up or down. And so you feel like, oh, I've got to get in before it goes up even more. And I think that that's a really important thing. And thank you for bringing that to the attention of my listeners, because I think it's something that I see with investing in general, and it's not just a crypto specific thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had conversations with friends because a lot of my friends have got into crypto in the last 12 months. And so they've been coming to me with all their questions. And I would say 90% of them haven't traded anything else before. So they get excited to buy something and then watching it, oh, it's going up, it's going up. But as soon as it goes in the wrong direction, the questions start coming. Should I sell? Have I made a mistake? So I think going into it in a considered way will cut out all the panic and help you be a more successful investor.
Well, I think the other thing that you said, and I think is something that my listeners should definitely listen to, is crypto was not the first thing that you ever invested in. You started investing when you were at 18 buying stocks. So you had the opportunity to kind of develop an investment style, an investment philosophy, a way of doing things before you jumped into crypto investing. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted, go back to that thing that I always wanted to be rich. Not so much the case anymore, but yeah, I always wanted to be rich and I was always on the lookout for opportunities. So whether it was stocks, whether it was property, whether it was actually getting a job and getting some money coming in, I was always on the lookout of what works. But there's some fundamental things that carry across all investments, which is you have to be disciplined. You have to have money to begin with to make more money, like that's a given. But also you have to do things that you're comfortable with, because a lot of these things really, like, you're not going to be rich overnight. Yes, you get the lucky stories, people that end up in the news having made millions on a meme coin, Doge being that one. But typically, you need to have a plan, and the more planned you are at the beginning, you don't have to do it day to day, but the more you think about how you're doing everything, the more successful you'll be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know that that, would you say that investing in crypto is kind of what you're doing, or do you have a job? I mean, how are, what's going on with you, Nicky?
Well, this is a long story that I'm going to have to cut very short for the podcast. But I mean, I spent most of my 20s and half of my 30s working my way up the corporate ladder. So I had an office job, which I absolutely loved, in a strategic role. And I was making good money. But I always go back to something that's important to me, which is you have to make your money work hard for you. I think that the way a lot of us have been brought up to think you have to get a good job, you have to make money, may not actually be the right way. And I think it's a shame if you spend the majority of your life behind a desk. And I didn't really have this realization until probably I was approaching like early 30s until I started realizing this. So I ended up quitting my job when I was probably just 2 years ago, 35. And I took a risk, and my investing then kind of became mainframe for me in terms of my main source of income. But I'm kind of still figuring it out. I mean, your original question is what is it that I'm doing? I am investing because I need to pay my mortgage, but I haven't got steady income coming in, so I can't afford to take the risk like I used to take with investing. So I'm always doing clever things like, well, you can see the world map behind me. So travel is a big passion of mine, but it costs money. So what I do is I rent my place out in London when I'm traveling to basically pay for my travels. So I rent my parking space out. I basically do whatever I can to make as much money as I can without actually having to sort of put in the hours. But I love using my brain, so I've just joined as co-founder of a company called JobHack. So that's more, I mean, we hope it's going to be successful, make some money in the future, but that's more for the love of like doing what I do. So yeah, just a mix of things, and that will continue to change, I assume, as I get older.
Absolutely. So there's nothing that says that you and I probably were brought up very similarly. My parents were of the opinion, you go to a university, you get a good job, you work hard for a while, and then you retire. And that was kind of the standard path that my parents have always preached. But and a lot of the listeners that are listening today were brought up that way. But like you, they very much have a different view of how they want their life to be. And so travel is one of the things that they want to do. I know that you started in Bali. I've talked to you and you've been in different places. So travel is also something that's really important to you. And I love the idea that there isn't a particular prescribed path for how you make money. You'll rent your place out, you'll rent your parking place out. I mean, these are kind of ways that people can. I think sometimes one of the things that I have to advise my clients as an advisor is sometimes you've got to think outside of what you know or what is prescribed in order to create new opportunities. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I won't say that it's easy. And okay, yes, it's very nice that I can rent my place out and travel around the world. But at the end of the day, I'm letting someone into my home. So there are sacrifices to be made. And I kept alluding to the fact that, I had this thing that I wanted to be rich. Whereas now I see it differently. I just want to have enough money to spend the majority of my time doing things I enjoy. I don't need designer handbags. I don't need to eat in the fanciest restaurants. I just want some control over my own time. So I think everyone can do it. I don't think you have to be a millionaire. I mean, I'm certainly not a millionaire. And I think, like you said, thinking outside the box, that's definitely the way to go. And it's funny because when I was in the corporate world, I was surrounded by people like me, doing this 9 to 5 and hoping to retire early. But when I've come out of it, you know, my whole life at the moment, I feel like I'm just a living guinea pig, but I am meeting more and more people that are doing the same thing. So I think there's a movement out there. I think it's a growing one as well.
I think it is a growing movement. I know that in the conversations that I have with the women that I work with, it's something that I am seeing more and more, that they're very interested in, not necessarily following the traditional path to how they build and grow their wealth and how they live their lives. Yesterday I was talking to somebody who was in Sudan. Another day I was talking with a woman who was down in Ghana. I know that you and I met through a digital sovereignty concept where, where they were talking about, taking your income and your ability to create wealth with you as an asset. And I think that's a different way of thinking about your life and how you live it.
Yeah, it's funny because once you start realizing, or once you start challenging the norms, you realize that actually everything is ready to be rewritten if you wanted to, right? So back to crypto is a good example of, why does money have to belong to one country? Like, why can't we have a global currency? And there you go, now it exists, right? So it's almost like the more crazy idea you think, the more likely someone ends up doing it. It's the most bizarre thing. I would say all it takes, rather than the imagination, I think a lot of people have the imagination, is giving yourself the opportunity and having some confidence in yourself to try and live a different way. If it's something you really want to do, I think take that chance. You won't regret it.
Yeah, you really won't. So, what is investing allowing you to do? So what is being an investor and going down this path allowing you to do? You've talked about travel. Is there anything else that you would add, that being able to be freer in the way that you earn income is allowing you to do?
Yeah, I've really ended up rethinking my whole life and the possibilities. So, for example, I love travel, and I especially love it in the winter when the weather in the UK is not so great, right? So then I think, okay, well, it would be great to stay in London for the summer and then bugger off in the winter. And investing lets me do that because I can work anywhere with an internet connection. Just take my laptop, and it's freedom to its truest form. It's quite isolatory, it can be, because you're basically working just you and the laptop. But then what you find is there's loads of communities out there where people are interested in crypto, not just the financial side of making money, but all the opportunities it will bring. It's almost like Internet 2.0, if you look into it, in terms of how revolutionary it can be. So there's loads of things I'm getting from investing: the financial uplifts, the freedom to pursue my passions, but also meeting new people with very creative minds.
So what's important about money to you? I think money means different things to different people.
To me, I understand its importance. So I'll never be the person that says you don't need it, right? Because I understand in the real world, if you want to have a roof over your head, you've got to pay some bills. So I understand there's like a basic level of income that people need. I've done two things just quickly on that respect. I'm trying to make as much money as I can, but it's definitely like much less than when I used to have a proper job.
Okay.
But the upside is the freedom, etc. But the other thing I've done is I've looked at everything I used to spend money on, and I've assessed what can I cut out without reducing my level of happiness, right? So when I mentioned the expensive restaurants, I did used to eat at really expensive restaurants. I can't do that anymore, but I don't feel less happy for having given that up. So there's the aspect of you need money to do things, but you don't need as much as you think. There's also a lot of studies that have been done that say money can bring you happiness if you're below the poverty line, right? So if you bring yourself up from a place where I'm so poor I can't afford my bills, to a place where I can pay my bills and afford to do one or two nice things. You get a big uplift in happiness. But the studies then show that when you go beyond that to like, I have quite enough money to do everything I want to, I have loads of money and I can do absolutely anything I want. Actually, the uplift in happiness is not so great. So when you ask me like what's important about money to me, I think it's literally having enough to cover what I would say is my basic needs, plus a little play money, but it's not a lot. And after that, it takes second priority to pretty much everything else in my life. I prioritize my traveling. I would, if someone paid me £1 million to do something I really didn't enjoy, I would say no, because I don't need £1 million. So I think it's balance, it's having respect for money, but not being controlled by it.
My listeners are often asking or thinking about financial freedom. And one of the reasons why they're interested in investing in general is so that they can be financially free and do the things that they want to do. So what does financial freedom mean to you, Nicky Shah?
Well, that's changed over time. So being the geek I am, I used to have a spreadsheet, another spreadsheet, which basically said if I had, say, £1 million and I stuck it in a interest bank account that was paying me 5%, I'd make 50,000 a year, and 50,000 a year UK pounds sounded enough for me to live a decent life. That's the way I used to look at it. And so financial freedom to me used to mean get me to the million and then I will be financially free. What ended up happening is I realized I couldn't get to the million. And I was killing myself in the process very slowly, my health, the stress levels, just not having time to like live my life. And so I changed the way I look at financial freedom. And now it's about making enough and resetting my expectations to live a life where I'm genuinely filled with happiness. And that doesn't mean get to 1 million first and then live off the interest. What it means is be very, very like disciplined with my planning, with my saving, be very strategic with my investing, invest in the right things at the right time, get some side incomes where I can, but don't, the key message is don't wait until you hit the million to start living your life. Like just do it now. And I promise you, everyone's situation is different, but I promise you it will work out, because once you've taken that leap and taken that risk, you will force yourself to find a way to never go back to the life you used to have.
Yeah, definitely. As I have gotten more free in terms of having to do anything for a particular reason, then I tend to focus on what lights me up. And so I'm doing things that I never would have thought that I would do. I started taking a cartooning course. And so it's just like, and so
Amazing.
I am not good. I am not good, but it's something that at the end of the day, it's just a good way for me to unwind and do something that is not finance orientated, not whatever. It's just something that lights me up and brings me joy.
Yeah, that's amazing. But it's funny because a lot of people like the holy grail is do something you love and get paid for it.
Right.
But you don't always have to be good, like you said with the cartooning. Like you just love it, so just do it. Like there should be tons of things in your life that you do just for the fun of it, and money is like not even in the equation.
Absolutely. So my whole thing is, okay, if I had money, unlimited money, and I could just do anything, I would get a daily massage and I would have somebody else cook and clean for me. Those are two things that those are on my bucket list that I would like to kind of get to the point where I've just got somebody coming and cooking and cleaning for me. And I actually like to cook, but the having to every day come up with what's the meal plan, having the family come in and say what's for dinner, that part of it drives me crazy.
What's funny is, I kid you not, and I'm going to sound really snobby here. When I was in the peak of my career, I was so busy at work. I had my meals cooked for me every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. delivered to my doorstep every morning. I had a gardener, I had a cleaner, plus, right? So when I quit my job, naturally, I couldn't afford any of these things anymore, right? And so I came to this like debate in my head around, okay, maybe I should get at least like some form of a job to keep up parts of the lifestyle I used to have. But actually the choice I was then making is, okay, what would I prefer? Would I prefer that someone comes and cleans my apartment and that I go to work? Or would I prefer just to do it myself and not have the job? And to be honest, like when I've had that conversation in my head, 95% of things I ended up having to do myself, because still I would rather do all those things than go back to the life I had. So I'm with you. I'd love my meals cooked. I'd love a massage every day. But yeah, maybe one day. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see. You and me both. So let me ask you, this is just a kind of a fun question that I like to ask is there a song that is the Nicky anthem for where you are financially?
Oh, I mean, there's a song that I love,
Okay.
and it actually hasn't got many lyrics at all, and it's called Breathe by Camel Fat. They're two DJs from the UK, from Liverpool. And the song, I mean, it's like dance, electronic, house music, and it's all about this person who is in a lot of pain, and the song is basically saying, I need you to be able to breathe again. And I love that, because I feel like I've gone on such a big journey with money, and I feel like I was chasing it so hard that it ended up controlling me. And then I was completely put off by money. And then I was like, I don't want a job. I don't want nothing to do with anything earning money. And now I've come almost like full circle, but in a different way, to wanting the money again, because I understand the importance of it, but I want it in a different way. And so it's my anthem, because I feel like I'm starting to breathe again, but in a way that I've never breathed in my life before. Like this sense of freedom is actually almost priceless. As long as I can earn enough money to keep my roof over my head, do a bit of traveling and fill my belly, like, yeah, I'm breathing and I'm happy.
Yeah. I like that. I'm gonna have to find that song and take a listen. So Nicky, here's the thing I have to ask you. Everybody wants to get into crypto. What's interesting for you about investing in crypto, and how is it different from other types of investing you might be doing?
So it's a really, really exciting area, and there's more than just crypto. You'll hear terms as you start looking into this about the blockchain, NFTs, but it's really a whole area of revolution. The technology that is sitting behind things like crypto will really change the way that we operate on a day-to-day basis. So for example, like at the moment when you buy a house, there's a lot of paperwork involved, a lot of lengthy procedures, and then big sums of money that have to be cleared and take a lot of time. And so you need professionals like conveyancers and solicitors to help with that process. And in the future, things like crypto, even though you might just think on the surface it's digital money, the technology that's around crypto with smart contracts and things like that means a lot of the sort of middlemen and the practices that come with traditional house buying will be sidetracked. And that's just one example. There's loads of cool and crazy things coming out that sometimes I don't even understand. But digital clothes that you never actually wear. So I see Felicia's face, like, what?
I was just like, crypto clothes. I mean, digital clothes. What's the benefit of crypto? I mean, digital clothes if you can't wear them? I'm sorry, my mind needs to be expanded to understand that one.
Well, it's a couple of trends coming together. So the technology behind crypto, which is all around cryptography and establishing that something is what it says it is lending its way to being able to buy a digital piece of clothing that you can say is definitely yours. And why you would use it. So it's a bizarre trend. Like, I have to be honest, I can't really get my head around it, but in the world of where you have a lot of focus on sustainability, no waste, then you've got this whole social media trend where people are on Instagram all the time. Digital clothes will effectively be a way that you can buy clothes and wear them on Instagram, because it's all digital, without ever having to own it. And so you don't get the waste that goes into clothes production. You get to wear the coolest and greatest outfits. So yeah, it's more than just crypto and digital currency. Like, there's a whole new world evolving, and that's why I love this space more than just to invest. I love following it. The other big thing, sorry, I know this is a long answer, but it's an important point to make as well, is that traditionally investing has had a lot of barriers to it. And so when you look at the profile of who's investing in cryptocurrency, it's actually a very different profile to your traditional stocks. So once you understand what cryptocurrency is, you'll understand why it appeals so much to countries with a lot of financial instability, right? So if you have a country with hyperinflation, and then you have a crypto coin which cannot be printed, so there's no more inflation, it's very appealing to people from third world countries. So now all of a sudden you've got third world countries investing a lot, and I mean the general population, not the governments. But also it's appealing to people who are typically disenfranchised, so the BIPOC community. I think 44%, the last time I checked, 44% of crypto investors are people of color. Okay. That compares to about, what, I don't know, 30-ish% in stock investing. So very different profile emerging. And I think it's going to be a big space to watch. Even the institutions are getting left behind. It's your everyday average person that's getting into crypto.
So I'm gonna definitely have to pay more attention to that. One of the, as a financial advisor, I'm wondering how the industry is changing, or how crypto will change people's relationships with the financial advisors like myself. I mean, there's currently not a space for us in the crypto because people can do that directly. But I think that I think that it's going to be important and incumbent upon people like myself to understand not only how their clients are using it and how they're buying it, but how we might be able to support them in what they're trying to do with crypto, even if we don't technically get paid for the advice and guidance that we're giving them. But I think, I like, one of the things that really resonated with me and what you said was the fact that it's all about discipline and planning. I am all about discipline and planning. That's how people are successful with money, is discipline and planning. So if you bring those skills and that way of thinking into your crypto buying or any other of the new technologies, then I think you will be better off than just getting into it because you fear you're going to miss out on the latest, greatest new technology out there.
Yeah, and I think it almost doesn't matter which asset class comes next. Like, crypto is a new thing, but there's always space for learning how to be financially smart. So the coaching that you offer about how you plan, how you discipline yourself, how you get into a rhythm of investing, how you don't throw the kitchen sink at everything and cross your fingers, that's going to be important for generations to come. And people like crypto because it's exciting, but you think about the internet, like how much the internet has changed our lives, but it didn't just turn up overnight. Like, people had time to get used to it. I remember the dial-up that made the funny noises, and now I'm sure if you have a millennial who's trying to connect to the internet and they heard that, they wouldn't recognize the noise. So, these things, back to the fear of missing out, like people think, oh, if I don't invest now, I'm going to miss the whole thing. Really, these things take time to embed. And fundamentally, the success of crypto comes down to adoption. We need people to be using it for it to be of value. And that means all people, right? It doesn't mean the people who understand crypto. It actually means the people who don't have a clue about crypto. If it's going to be successful, we need everyday people making everyday purchases to use it and understand it. And that's going to take 5 years minimum.
Got it. Well, I remember one of the conversations that that grew out of that digital summit that you and I met at, is we were talking about there will be different cryptos for different types of purchases. Like you might use Bitcoin, and I don't know enough to. I may be dangerous as I make this statement, but you might use Bitcoin to buy a house, but you might use a different type of digital currency to buy groceries at the corner market. Is that part of learning the whole crypto world?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And now I think that puts you in the top 20% of knowledge about crypto, actually, because the main barrier to people and why they don't get into investing is lack of understanding. But like you just said, it's these common sense things that you're going to use different ones to do different things, because actually, if you look into how many cryptos exist, there's over 10,000, right? So, but I mean, first of all, we don't need 10,000. So we need to understand which are the useful ones and which are not. But then if we're left with a handful, then what are they all doing? And so you're right, like Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is quite sluggish in transaction time, and that may change in the future. But you're not going to be waiting at the cashier to buy a bar of chocolate paying with Bitcoin, because you're going to be waiting a long time, right? But to buy something like a house, it makes more sense. It's an extremely, extremely secure network. So yeah, and this is part of learning about crypto, is learning what some of the, if you take a look at coinmarketcap.com and you look at the top 10 cryptos on there, just as a guide, go and research, go and Google, like, what are the differences between them? What do they do?
So, Nicky, if somebody wanted, if somebody, one of my listeners wanted to reach out to you and go a little bit deeper about cryptocurrency, I know that you were talking about perhaps offering something special. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what I can offer is a 2-hour coaching course. It would be a price of $300, and the main thing it focuses on is going into a deep dive on your personality, because I alluded to this before, but I honestly, in my many years of investing, the thing that changed the game for me, because I didn't always used to make money, you see, I used to lose quite a lot of money, and the thing that changed the game for me was understanding myself. And so I've developed a coaching course where I can shortcut a lot of the practice I ended up having to do, and sort of self-learning to understand what my trading style is. And this will serve you not just for crypto, but for pretty much any financial investing in your life. So that's a big part of the coaching. And of course, the other part, which I also said was important, is learning the fundamentals of how do you open a trade? How do you look for the right cryptocurrency? What platforms do you use? How do you know they're safe? So it's mainly targeted at, I would say, almost complete beginners. So complete beginner to, they have dabbled a bit with investing, but not too much, and want to get into crypto. So yeah, that's the offer.
All right, perfect. And how would they get a hold of you, Nicky? So
the best way to contact me is LinkedIn. You can find me, Nicky Shah. I think Felicia might kindly send a link. And just drop me a message, because my coaching is one-to-one, and I always find like the best way for someone to get in touch is just through LinkedIn, and then we can set up a chat and go from there.
Absolutely. And Nicky, you are limiting this to how many people? So this, unfortunately, if you were listening to this a year from now, this offer will probably have already expired. But for the first X, how many people are you going to be able to offer this to, Nicky? Because I know that this is a way for you to bring in some income, teach people some of what you've learned, but you don't want this to be your job.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've just taken on a new role as well. But I invest in crypto for the love of investing in crypto. And so if there are like-minded people who really want to give this a go, get in touch. But I am limiting it to 10 people, or 31st of December to sign up, whichever one comes first.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. All right, Nicky, it has been a pleasure. I thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your expertise, what you've learned about crypto and investing in general. And for our listeners, I want to thank you for tuning into the Her Money Story podcast. For more episodes like this, you can go to my YouTube channel, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and choose all to get in short, to make sure that you are notified of all new content as it comes out. And if you're listening to this podcast as a audio podcast, go ahead and leave an honest review on Apple, because more reviews equals more awareness of the Her Money Story podcast. And if you want to master money and go from feeling from even a little bit of self-doubt to safe, secure, and ultimately in control of your financial destiny, then look for the link below and apply for a financial breakthrough session with me at www.chatwithfelicia.com. Nicky, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for our time today. I think it's been fantastic, and I'm sure you will be slammed for people who want to invest with you and learn a little bit more about crypto through the lens that you bring to the table. So thank you.
And thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for making my first podcast experience so pleasant.
Yeah, everybody leaving the note in the links below about how awesome Nicky was. She needs to hear that, because I told her it was going to be cool, and I think it really was very, very cool. So again, Nicky, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Take care. All the best.
Okay. Bye.